Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of DefDave's 1984. I'm your host, DefDave, and on this show, we are taking a comprehensive chronological journey through every aspect of the best year ever. And today, we're returning our attention. This may be our first movie episode, actually. I'll say in returning our attention, I think 1984 is the best year for movies ever, but it was actually a little bit slow getting out of the gate at the box office. But we are... I believe I may be wrong, but I think this is the first episode we're doing that is going to be about a movie, and I'm excited to talk about it. It is a top 10 movie for the year, and to help me talk about it is a first-time guest to the show and co-host of the Children of the 80s podcast, Ms. Lindsay Butler. Lindsay, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I am a big fan of your podcast that you co-host with your husband, and I have to assume that you're the brains of the operation.
You got it figured out. You know.
I'm a child of the 80s. I graduated high school in 1989, so I'm about as 80s as you get. And so when I found your podcast, I instantly fell in love with it. But just real quick, kind of tell folks what your show is all about.
So we do believe that the 1980s was just one of the best decades, and we both grew up in the 80s, and we found that whenever we would sit down and talk about our childhood, it always reflected around nostalgia. And the 80s just brings back so much nostalgia. And so we just decided to turn like a normal Friday night into a podcast. And so we just like to talk about all things related to the 80s, movies, music, just about anything really. And Jim enjoys, of course, the music episodes the most. And we just like to sit around and talk about all the things that happen and all the things that we miss.
Yeah, I've already had him on the show a couple of times. He's been on to talk about Night Court, and he's been on to talk about the Super Bowl, and it's been great having him on. And I agree. I think the 80s are the best decade. Everything was so much better back then.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I have been like, I really didn't spend a lot of time on nostalgia or thinking about the past or anything until the occasion of my 30th high school reunion. And that was in 2019. And suddenly I just got really interested in revisiting a lot of pop culture stuff from the 80s that I'd never had spent much time really thinking about. And I just dove in, like, I just have not, I don't expect to ever leave at this point.
Right.
It just comes with so many warm memories. And in all of this, I have come to the conclusion that 1984 is actually the best pop culture year in the best decade. So I'm convinced 1984 is the best year ever. And I am dedicating 4 years of my life doing this podcast to make that case and prove it to everybody.
You know what? This is your show. I will go along with you. It was 1984.
So before we get into the topic and everything, tell me about Lindsay Butler in 1984. Like, how old were you and what kind of stuff were you into?
Lindsay Butler in 1984, she was 5. So she was still a little young. But it's funny. Footloose was the first movie that caught my attention. And so it opened the door to me realizing there was a world outside of just, my immediate house. So it was all about Saturday morning cartoons, playing outside, all about, riding my bicycle, and Garfield, Cabbage Patch Kids, Barbie dolls, you name it.
Well, I've got a few years on you then.
You do.
Yeah. But so you obviously didn't see Footloose in the theaters. Do you remember when you first saw it?
Oh, absolutely. I remember. So my aunt was a little bit older than me, and she lived with us when she went to college. So back, I don't know exactly when it came out on VHS, but maybe would it have been like a year later? I don't know, but maybe 85-ish. We went to the grocery store and rented a VCR, because at that point in time, we didn't even own a VCR at our house. We would go and you would rent it. and it came in like a big, almost like a suitcase with a handle. So we rented the VCR and we rented Footloose and came home and watched it in her bedroom. And like I said a minute ago, it just like blew my mind.
And there's a whole new world out there.
It was a whole new world. I just thought there's a whole new world out here, and people dance through it. I think I started dancing through my little world. But yeah, instantly had a crush on Kevin Bacon, and just thought that obviously was how things were going to be when I got to be a little bit older.
I got you. Well, we are in the middle of February of 1984. Karma Chameleon is the #1 hit in the country. It is about to enter its third week at #1. On February 13th, the Winter Olympics kicked off, and Footloose opens while the Winter Olympics are going on. But the first day of the Olympics was on the 13th. That was the same day that the Scorpions put out their album Love at First Sting. And a couple days later, Disney, the Walt Disney Studio would launch their Touchstone Pictures banner for their brand for doing a little bit more adult themed or at least non-family movies. And we did episodes on all of that recently. So you go back in the feed and check all of those. But we turned the calendar today to February 17th, 1984. And if you kicked off your Sunday shoes and went out to the movie theaters that night, you had a chance to see this film on opening night. It was February 17th. Do you have a sense of what the pop culture impact was for this movie?
I mean, maybe it was because of my age, so I might not have a great sense, but it felt huge. Did it feel huge to you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was massive. It was a big part of what was going on in pop culture at the time, and the main thing driving it was the soundtrack. And my main memory of Footloose is hearing the songs on the radio. Let's Hear It for the Boy and and Footloose by Kenny Loggins. Those are the two that that stand out the most in my memory, and they were all over the place. And I don't know if I saw the movie in theaters when it was in theaters or not. It may have also been a rental for me also a couple years later, but this was everywhere. You could not get away from it. So can you just give us a little bit of a plot summary of what happens in this movie?
Oh, I love my plot summaries.
Okay.
So I'm glad you asked, because this is one of my favorite things to do on our show. So Ren McCormick, played by Kevin Bacon, is a big city teen who moves to a small, deeply conservative town called Beaumont. Was it like Montana? Somewhere like Montana.
I think it was Colorado. Yeah.
Okay. Where dancing and rock music were strictly banned. There was neither going on after a tragic accident involving a couple of local teens. So, bucking under the strict rules enforced by the town's pastor, Reverend Shaw Moore, played by John Lithgow. There he is. Look at him. He's angry. Why is he so angry? Ren befriends other restless students and forms a bond with the Reverend's rebellious daughter, Ariel, played by Laurie Singer. As Ren pushes to bring music and dancing back to the town, he forces everybody to confront its grief, its fear, and its need for healing. In the end, Beaumont loosens its grip on the past, and the teens finally get their long-denied chance to dance and celebrate.
The antagonist of the movie is John Lithgow, like you're saying. He's the pastor. He's the father of the girl that Ren likes. Tell me, you watched this movie recently. Did your feeling about the movie change? Did your perception of the movie change on this recent rewatch?
It did. Okay, so as a kid, I missed all of the like gritty undertones. So as a kid, I think I just loved the music and the dancing. And Kevin Bacon was cute. So it was fun. Watching it, getting ready for this episode, I'm like, oh, there's some like heavier stuff going on. I mean, it was a little heavier. It made, we have a daughter, Emmy. She's 12. I don't know that I'm not quite ready for her to see it. I mean, she could watch it, it would be fine, but I'm like, I can't believe my parents let me watch that at like 5, 6 years old.
You know, I'm the same way, and that's why I asked you the question. And I see it and I hear it from a lot of people. It's like people that saw it back in the 80s loved it for one reason and identified with the teenagers, all right, identified with either Kevin Bacon or Laurie Singer. And now we're all in our 40s and 50s and watching the movie, and we're totally identifying with John Lithgow's character a whole lot more.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's why I brought him back up on the screen again. Is because he's not a bad guy. He's not an evil guy.
No, he's not.
He's not doing anything wrong. He's, and I'll give Footloose credit for this. A lot of times when clergy, pastors, preachers, or priests are depicted in film, they make sure to show them, struggling with some secret sin, or just being hypocritical in some way, even if it's just like smoking a cigarette or cussing or whatever. They're going to do something to show you this person's not perfect, and trying to show there's a hypocritical side to the character. And we don't get that with him.
No.
He's a grieving father. Like, it was his son that was killed in a car accident after a night of drinking and dancing. And he's has not come to terms with that yet. And he just wants to see people behave and be safe. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and his loud Bible thumping ways from the pulpit, he's really living that. Like he's
Right.
not, that's not a fake, that's not a facade with him. Like
Right.
that is really who he is. And really it's a lot of the sternness, it's just he's driven by grief.
So, that sternness and those strict rules, that's going to relate to teenagers watching this movie. It's like, you just want to be free to do what you want to do. And why do my parents have to be this way? And
Right.
so you can see it's, I don't know. I'm tempted to say that the stakes are low because it's not like there's anybody in any danger. There's no real bad guy here, but it's interesting that you could just present this dynamic. And when you're a certain age, you're identifying with one side of this conflict, and when you're another age, you're identifying with the other side. So I just find that very interesting.
At one point, he and Ariel, the daughter, they're getting into and they're arguing, and he slaps her. And I was, whoa, I don't remember that at all. So did he take it too far? Yes, he took it way too far. But did she deserve it? Yeah, she did. Listen, he shouldn't have done it. That was not okay. But she was out there. The thing that I noticed, she was out there. Her character, Kevin Bacon's character, they were 18 years old, living like they were 35.
Yeah, and up to all kinds of dangerous stunts and games.
Yes.
It's like it's like a parent's worst fear. What are they doing when they leave your house and you can't keep your eyes on them? Well, hopefully they're doing smart things and not putting themselves in danger.
Yeah, you like to think that, like, as a parent, they're not doing anything as bad as what you're thinking they're doing. In this situation, no, they're doing worse.
Well, you don't want to play chicken with tractors. That's not.
I mean, that's never a good idea. How ticked? So, speaking of the scene where they're playing this like game of chicken on the tractors, like, how ticked was this dad when he finds out his tractor's been wrecked?
Oh man,
it's his livelihood.
I know. That's a problem. It's a problem. So did you know this? This is actually based on a true story.
No, I didn't know that.
Did you have all this? So this actually, the movie is set in Colorado, but it is inspired by true events that took place in Oklahoma. There's a small little town called Elmore City. It's in Oklahoma, maybe an hour south of Oklahoma City. And around 1979, 1980 or whatever, I believe it was People magazine that published an article about what had happened here. So it basically, dancing was illegal in this little town. And it took the high school kids in the town to organize and kind of fight City Hall and fight for their right to be able to have a prom. And so
fight for their right to party.
Yeah, how about that? Exactly. So and so this, our good friends at the Surely Can't Be Serious podcast, they're based out of Oklahoma City. And I was talking to Jason Colvin today, and he was reminding me of all this. So, and they have a fantastic episode covering this movie, and they'll get into a lot more depth than we will here today. Mm-hmm. But that is something that is not lost on the people of Elmore City. They're quite proud of the fact that they make sure everybody knows that Footloose is based on stuff that happened in their town.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think Jason told me there's actually a big mural downtown somewhere, a Footloose mural that kind of, puts it on blast for everybody as they're coming into town.
I love that.
So I am always interested in movies that either maybe they're musicals. I'm not a huge musical guy. There are some musicals that I like, but I love movies that are about music and have music as a theme or central to the plot in some way. And I count Footloose in that category because you're seeing dancing as a metaphor for freedom, right? And so when they have their dance at the end, you feel that victory for them, So that's something that I've always liked about the movie. Do you have any kind of trivia nuggets or behind the scenes stories or anything like that? You got any production notes for us?
So I don't know if you want to get into this now, but I have some information about some actors who tried out for some parts and didn't get it.
Okay. Tell me what you got. What are some almost words?
You want to get into that?
Absolutely.
So,
what you got for us?
I did not know this. Rob Lowe was originally cast for the main part, but injured his knee during a dance audition, and so he had to then be replaced by Kevin Bacon. And I'm just wondering what it would have been like with Rob Lowe. I don't know. I can't picture it. Kevin Bacon, to me, he is this movie.
Yeah, so Rob Lowe got hurt auditioning for Footloose. It was dancing for Footloose where he got hurt. Interesting. I see Rob Lowe as a little too much of a pretty boy, and I see Kevin Bacon as a little bit more believable as a rebel teen.
Right.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon, though, he's genuinely such a good dancer.
So do we think that's really Kevin Bacon?
Well, no, I don't think that's Kevin Bacon. But yeah, look at that hair. I don't think that's Kevin Bacon. But I mean, I do think he's got the moves.
You see him on camera enough. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So Valerie Bertinelli almost got the role for the female lead, and I cannot picture that at all.
I'd have to be reminded of what she looked like in 1984. It seems like she would have been a little too old for it, but I don't know. I think they got it right. I think I like Laurie Singer in it better. It's just, at least with Laurie Singer, the actress disappears and I see the character. I think with Valerie Bertinelli, I'd be seeing Valerie the whole time. I'm not sure.
So I always think of Laurie Singer as the poor man's Elizabeth Shue.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that bad? I always
I don't think that's bad.
I always feel like, well, was Elizabeth doing something else? Where was she? Was she not available?
Yeah,
I don't know. Probably bad.
Well, 1984, she was doing Karate Kid. So
yeah, well, there you go. She was doing something else.
Yeah, I guess she was taken. So I don't know.
So and then one more, Tracy Nelson. Anytime I bring up Tracy Nelson, Jim always says to me, "Who? Tracy Nelson? Please tell me you know who Tracy Nelson is. She's so 80s.
You have to tell me.
Ricky Nelson's daughter?
Okay.
Daughter, I think. So okay. She was like she was that girl in the 80s where you'd be like, oh yeah, that girl. She always had some bit part. Okay. So she was considered for the role of Rusty. Okay. And I don't know, I've always been just a big fan of hers, so I'm a little bummed she didn't make it. But that part went on to Sarah Jessica Parker, who looked a lot different in Footloose
Yeah.
than she
Yeah.
does now, or than she did later on.
So if you, I don't want to push you on too fast. If you got any more nuggets for me, or
Madonna and Jennifer Jason Leigh also auditioned for Ariel.
really?
Mm-hmm.
No. I have to say, I like the cast we got. I have to say,
I know. Go figure.
I think they got it all right. And I give credit to the director there, Herbert Ross. We haven't talked about him yet. I want to get to him. Did you look up his career? Did you see what other stuff he's done?
I did. Okay, so listen, I know you're like way smarter than me. So I looked at a list of all he's done. The only other movie that I was familiar with was in 1989, he did Steel Magnolias.
Okay.
What
Well,
else
I'm looking.
am I missing?
I'm looking at his filmography now. He has a lot of credits. His first directing credit was in 1969. But when you get to the 80s, I'll start to get familiar with the titles that I'm seeing here. So he did do Pennies from Heaven, which was a Steve Martin movie. He did Max Duggan Returns. In 1984, he did Footloose, and he did a Goldie Hawn comedy called Protocol, which I've never seen, but they both came out in 1984. I don't imagine we'll cover Protocol on this series. But have you heard of the Michael J. Fox movie, The Secret of My Success?
Yes, I have. Did he do that?
That's his. Yeah, he did that one. And he did Steel Magnolias. He did My Blue Heaven in 1990, another Steve Martin movie. And then there's some here I'm skipping around, but he also did Undercover Blues, which is I saw that. It was Dennis Quaid and Kathleen Turner. It was a comedy.
Wow.
It was really funny. So I think their last name might have been Blues. They were a husband and wife undercover team or something like that. So so this guy's a veteran, had been working since the late 60s. And had a solid career, but I'd have to say, it's certainly for a child of the '80s, Footloose is what shines the brightest from his career.
Absolutely.
There. Do you have any favorite scenes from the movie?
Oh yeah, I've got so many favorite scenes. If we pieced them together, it might be the whole movie.
Okay.
So. I had forgotten at the very beginning of the movie when it's, church apparently went on half the day in this little small town. And so teenagers finally break free from church and they're going to go I don't know, the next town over to the burger place. And the girls are in one car and the boyfriend / bad guy is in the truck, and they end up driving down this big long deserted road side by side, and Ariel gets out of the car through the window and moves over to the truck while both are driving down the road side by side, playing chicken with an 18-wheeler coming towards them. And as I'm watching that, I'm just like, oh my gosh, somebody needs to give her a spanking. But it brought back memories as a kid. That scene stressed me out. No matter how many times I watched the movie, I was like, is she going to make it this time?
See, I watched way too many episodes of the Dukes of Hazzard. All of that stuff was normalized for me. I saw nothing wrong with any of that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they did a great job of you feeling, man, that 18-wheeler, is she going to make it? I don't know. I love that. I love Kevin Bacon. He's so frustrated. He feels so held down in this town. He just needs to dance. He just needs to dance and get this creativity out of his system. So he goes to an empty warehouse, and he just dances, and he just gotta just move. And I think that's one of the more iconic scenes of the movie. Yeah. And I loved it. I loved it then. I enjoyed watching it, this time around. But I'm also curious, where did those gymnastic bars come from?
That's a good question. I don't
know. He's also doing gymnastics.
I mean, it's Colorado.
Is that something guys in the 80s, they were just also doing gymnastics. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Look, I was not hanging out in Colorado barns in the 80s, so I don't know
Okay.
what they were doing out there.
Okay. Well,
But yeah,
you
it
never
doesn't,
know.
and the first time I saw this in the 80s, I just assumed that was Kevin Bacon doing all of that. It's now hilariously a dance double for the whole warehouse sequence. But I would absolutely call that the iconic scene from the movie.
Yes.
I hadn't gone back to watch the music videos of Footloose or Let's Hear It for the Boy, but I'm going to assume that scene plays heavily in at least one of those music videos because it stands out so clearly,
right,
as an iconic scene from the movie. I'll tell you my favorite. I don't know if I want to say my favorite character, but a character that I like a lot in this movie is the one played by Chris Penn.
Chris Penn, look at him.
He's because he's totally believable as just a good old like country boy.
Yeah, he sure is.
Who's like never danced a day in his life, has never thought about it, and the whole scene where Ren is like teaching him how to dance and stuff like that. I don't know. I just found all that very charming. So because bless his heart, like he's doing his best.
He's trying. I mean, there's not a lot going on up there in that noggin.
There's not.
I think it was season 1 of our podcast. I came down hard on Chris Penn, and I felt a little guilty about it ever since. So I'll just use your podcast this episode to clear the air. I'm sorry, Chris. You did a great job in Footloose.
I thought he did. So I talked earlier about how in this movie, like dance is kind of used as a metaphor for freedom. And we see the kids successfully challenge the authority of the town and of the preacher. And, and I would say going about it in the proper way, and addressing it in a formal way and making a mature argument. And that's their victory, is when they're allowed to have their dance. And that's a part of the true story too, is that they were able to successfully put on their prom. But did you know that the closing dance number, we're looking at it right now on the screen, it was not an original part of the movie. They didn't have it in the movie for test audiences. And the test audiences were like, where's the dance? I mean, that's the payoff. That's the victory, I guess the movie was originally cut so that the victory was in being told they could do it. But as an audience, we were denied that release of seeing them get to have the dance.
Right. We want to see that. We've got to have that too.
Yeah. I mean, that's the happy ending. That's what has everybody coming out of the theater in a great mood, right? Because they do this dance at the end and they just kind of extend it and let it go through the credits and stuff like that. And I can't imagine not having that in the movie. I can't believe they missed that at first, but knowing that almost didn't happen, it makes me appreciate it even more. So I would call that my favorite scene right at the very end, the happy ending.
Yeah, and I loved in that scene too. There's the glitter confetti that's coming down. There's something a little magical about that. So I love that scene.
Absolutely. So what can you tell me about the reception? Do we know how this movie did?
Okay, so the reception for Footloose, audiences loved it. Critics, maybe not so much. So, but the audience absolutely loved it. The film, it was considered a massive commercial hit. It grossed over $80 million on just an $8 million budget. So it finished as the 7th top grossing film of 1984. I think it goes back to that soundtrack though. I really think so. That soundtrack just pulled people in. But our boy Roger Ebert, we talk a lot about Roger Ebert on our podcast. He was not a fan. He called it a seriously confused movie. He said it tried to do, quote, 3 things and does all of them badly.
What is he watching?
Old Raj, I would always say he doesn't have good taste in movies.
So this is mass. $80 million in 1984 was
That's a lot
huge.
of money.
That's a lot of money. It was rare for a movie to break 100 million. You had to be in a massive runaway success to do that. You set a budget of 8 million. I mean, this
Yep.
brought back 10 times its budget. I don't care
Yep.
what era you're living in. If you're doing a return on investment by a factor of 10, then you're doing okay. This is a top 10 finisher for the entire year. Came out in February, and it ends up finishing in the top 10. So that tells you a lot. I would imagine it was probably dominating those weeks in February and March before the real competition got started. It finished right ahead of Romancing the Stone, which was number 8 for the year, and right behind Police Academy, which was number 6 for the year. I'm looking at this top 10 list of box office for 1984. We're going to get to all of them. We're going to get to all of these and a whole lot more over the course of this series. And so I am definitely looking forward to that. So, I'm making the case that 1984 is the best year ever. Oh, let me just say this again about the soundtrack. 100%. When you think about soundtrack movies of the 80s, I think Footloose and Purple Rain are like the automatic answers that come to the top of everybody's brain. Like, that's just Footloose, Purple Rain. There's others, there's like Top Gun, and there's other movies that have great soundtracks. But when you talk about a soundtrack, and Dirty Dancing, but when you talk about a soundtrack-driven movie, these go at the very top of the list. And I would think that maybe this synergy between music and movies probably has a long history, but it leveled up in the 80s, like after MTV. And I think we're absolutely seeing that here. I think we're seeing an MTV influence on the success of this movie because of having these, pop songs that are original to the movie playing on the soundtrack. So like I was saying at the beginning of the episode, I think it has it's an enormous part of the pop culture impact of this movie. So would you agree? Is this a big part of 1984? Is this movie a big part of 1984?
Oh, it's a huge part of 1984. And it's hard to pick what was the best song off the soundtrack. That's how many good songs were on there. Let's Hear It for the Boy. I still love that song.
Oh yeah.
Was it Denise Williams? And I think the one that did it.
Yes.
I love the duet. Who did the duet? Ann Wilson and Mike Reno. Almost Paradise.
Almost Paradise. Fantastic song.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was like one good one after another. And then, of course, Footloose, Kenny Loggins. I can't imagine anybody else doing that song. Like, that's Kenny Loggins through and through.
You hear Footloose, you hear the song Footloose everywhere. I mean, even kids these days know about Footloose by Kenny Loggins.
Yes.
Tell you what, Lindsay, I love having you on the show. I appreciate you coming on. I am looking forward to all of my movie episodes because I have made the case before to other pop culture podcasters that we know, people that don't necessarily agree with me right away about 1984. I've had to hold my ground in the debate of which year of the 80s was the best year for movies. And I am opening my case for movies with Footloose. And I absolutely appreciate you coming on and helping me talk about it.
This has been a blast. Thank you.
Now, I also know from listening to your show that you are also a fan of true crime.
Yes.
Especially when there's murder involved.
So, and it's hard for me to get Jim to turn over the reins and just let me to do a whole episode on my own. But I've convinced him in a couple of weeks, he's going to let me do an episode that puts my two favorite things together, true crime in the 1980s and some 80s music. And I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Well, I hope that you don't steal any of my thunder. I've plotted out, because the nature of my show, the premise of my show, I have to be very deliberate in planning what episodes I'm going to do because everything is very strictly chronological. I can't miss anything. I
Right.
can't go back and pick it up.
Right.
Right. So I don't want to miss it. And so I've plotted out most of what I'm going to do over these 4 seasons of my show. And there's some serial killer action in 1984.
Yes.
So I've got stuff for you.
Yes.
When the time comes.
I cannot wait.
Okay.
I'm your girl. You give me a call. I'm all about, I told Jim if I ever do a true crime podcast, I'm going to call it Death, Murder, Kill. So I'm all about the death, murder, kill.
Well, so I've got this planned out over 4 seasons. The idea is to break the year 1984 up into quarters. So season 1 is going to go through March 31st, and I'll take a little break, and I'll come back for season 2 starting, and I'll go through April, May, June of 1984. And I can tell you that on April 1st, which would be the season 2 season premiere for me, April 1st, 1984, Marvin Gaye was killed.
Oh, that's right.
And so it's not that type of celebrity story is not necessarily what we think of when we hear the words true crime, but that might be how I kick off season 2. So you just let me know if you want to come on and talk about that.
Oh, I'm consider me there.
All right. Awesome. Thank you very much. Tell us once again about your show and what it's about and when it comes out.
We are all about the 1980s. We are children of the 80s. It's me and my husband, Jim, and we love to dive in and talk about everything that gives us the warm fuzzies from what we consider to be the best decade, movies, music, TV, current events, you name it, anything from the 1980s. You can find us on all major podcast platforms, and our shows come out Wednesday mornings.
Awesome. Lindsay, thank you very much. I can't wait to have you back on. Thank you for helping me prove that 1984 was the best year ever.
My pleasure.
All right. I'll talk to you next time. Thanks a lot. I want to thank Lindsay for coming on. That was awesome. I'm happy to be able to finally start tackling the topic of the movies of 1984. I want you to join us next week as we're going to keep the calendar right here on February 17th, because on the exact same day that Footloose hit theaters, we also saw the release of the most successful album in the career of one of the biggest British pop acts of the 80s. Now, I won't tell you who it is, but you can either hold me now or tune in for the next episode of DefDave's 1984, your journey through the best year ever.